are there any new practices that you put in place that you think you'll continue on with after the pandemic?
Not us, but I'll tell you who's been innovative is the courts. So the courts finally, right? We seem to like lose sight of who we are in Las Vegas quite regularly, but the courts have never been sympathetic to a domestic violence victim. I mean, and we have advocates at family court and at the district attorney's office, but there's always been this sort of like, well, why is it an issue to come down and get a TPO? Well, because I've got 3 kids, it's 110 degrees outside, and I got to get on a city bus and make 3 stops before I get there. Mm-hmm. So one of the big things that has come out of this is finally Barbara Buckley and her team, who we work really closely with, was able to convince the courts to get the temporary protection order online, and Barbara's team helps them help awesome. People navigate, and then Barbara's team refers them to us, and we pick up for any other services that folks may need. And I love it because this environment is requiring us to think about ways to do things, and just by the nature that we're doing things digitally makes it much easier for victims who wouldn't have to have jumped on a bus before. And that, you put that barrier in my way, great, I'm just not going to renew my temporary protection order. Mm-hmm. Unless it's that horrific that it's worth it. So yeah, so those are good. So there's good things.
That is.
I think we'll wear masks for a while. We just ordered a bunch of SafeNest branded.
Yep.
So we can still look good while we're doing this work, but yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything that a lay person can do to help SafeNest? Like, is there something, you're such a great organization. Is there something that a lay person can do to help you and your organization's cause?
So certainly people can donate secondhand goods to any of our bins, and that's, like I said, that's part of our economic engine. People, of course, can also always donate money. We won't turn that away. Right. But if folks want to get more in depth in this work, we have our mobile first response program needs volunteers. And what those volunteers do is they are dispatched from their home, and they go to a domestic violence scene where a 911 call's been made. Metro's on scene the whole time, so it's totally safe, but they provide that frontline advocacy. And that is life-saving. Wow. We have brought down the homicide rate significantly in 2 major areas of the Valley. That program is going valley-wide. That's a great way for people who are like, you know what, I could do this. I could be on the front lines of this. We train you up. You are not sent out there without the tools.
That's what I was going to ask next, because someone who has not experienced domestic violence, and really, fortunately, know very few people who've had that happen.
Yeah,
I think it's terrible, but I always am like, oh, I just don't even know how to help.
Well, and the best way to help, so we do, how it works is you do a weekend training academy. So you come in Friday and you do all day Saturday and most of the day Sunday. And then the next 2 months you shadow with an experienced advocate. So you get up to speed on all of those pieces. You come back, you do another half weekend of training, and then you go out and continue to shadow, but you take the lead. And then you go through a graduation ceremony, and then you're ready to respond. And you always have the choice if you want to respond by yourself or in tandem. But the reason this program is so successful is because only 4% of women who are murdered in domestic violence accessed a hotline or domestic violence agency the year before they were murdered. And this is one of those silly covenants of domestic violence agencies that I push against. Is we say constantly, well, if we're here, so reach out. We're here, so reach out. Well, no, why don't we get up on in your face and be right on the scene where you could need us, engage you with services immediately.
Right.
And if you need us further, we're here and you've created a relationship. So that program, that and the stat that, where domestic violence homicides come down is where domestic violence agencies and police have work in tandem. And so that program is revolutionary for the way Clark County, and I believe it'll go statewide with our work with the AG's office at some point, but that is the best way. And you're saving lives. That's the plain and simple of it, is you are saving lives and ending generational domestic violence in that program.
Yeah.
Well, Liz, I will say that that line, you are saving lives. That's
Mhm.
what you and your staff of 93 and the programs and the energy that you have brought to this has been absolutely phenomenal. I cannot wait. The boss lady is back in the studio and we can
Yes.
record the podcast. But I'd like to say that with my training in leadership development, what kept coming throughout this conversation was there is this ad hoc statement about in times of crisis, true leaders raise to the top. And you were doing it before, but I will tell you, during the time that we got to spend with you, all I kept hearing was how you upped your game, you upped your game, you upped your game. And even at the recognizing that you need your own care, that was what a great leader does.